What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my third episode of the Tamiya M-06 build series. In this episode, I'm hoping to get the chassis finished up and get it all put together. I will end up putting one more episode on just to show how the car runs, and after all the details I put together, show off what it looks like. Over the past week, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to work on the car, so I mean, any chance I did get, I put in a little bit of time with a black paint pen and got inside the offset just like the wheels I owned on my old car, and that added like a lot of depth to the wheels. I really like how it turned out. They look more realistic now. My lighting is not the greatest in here, but if the camera picks that up, you should be able to tell the difference. I left one free so I could show you guys. I'm gonna finish that up here on the time lapse, but I think they turned out great. In the last video, we got the two halves of the chassis put together and started assembling things like the steering rack and the casters. That left us today about halfway through the manual, and now we're going to be working on the front hub carriers, the front hubs, and the front axles. That'll be the first thing I do today, and then I'm just going to be stealing a servo from a drift car that I haven't finished right now. It's something I've been working on, but I don't really have a place to use it, so I just kind of set that off to the side for the moment. Eventually I'll be using it, so I'll have to steal the servo back and find something else for this build, but it's perfect for the time being. For those of you that do enjoy my build series videos, once I'm finished building this M-06, I'm going to be building a new workbench. So I'm looking for ideas for ways I can improve the videos. Things like better lighting, I know, has to be one of them. I need some lighting coming from the right side of my screen as well as the left side. I'm going to be looking at a couple different camera angles if I continue to do the build series videos. So just let me know in the comments if you like them. Maybe there's something else I can improve on, or something I can kind of prepare for while I build the new workbench. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so after a lot of hours of patience with the black paint pen, I was able to achieve the black and the offset like my original wheels on my car. So I'm pretty excited about the way these turned out, and I can't wait to put them on the build. Alright, so I set the wheels aside for some dry time, and now we're just going to get right back into the chassis and get back to where we left off in the last episode. And the last thing we did was put together the steering linkage, and now it's gonna have us put together the front axles. So I have all the parts set up here ready to go to put the front axles together, but just remember I am using the fast eddy bearings instead of the bushings that the kit comes with. Okay, so I have the two front axles completely assembled now. They spin nice, and once I get the drive pin and hex on there and the wheel over top of that and bolted on, that'll keep this from coming in and out. But until then, I just put two body pins in there to keep it from sliding out. The next step's gonna have me attach these front axles to the chassis right away. For that step, I'm just gonna have to make two quick links and then attach the casters and front axles to the chassis using these two screws through these front arms and then through the caster. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that step right now. Right there. Okay, so I'm finished putting on the casters and front axles, and I must say those links were a pain. I did forget to mention that before putting on the rod ends, it wants you to cut off 2 millimeters of the plastic before threading it onto the rod, and threading it onto the rod can be a task. Adding a little bit of grease inside the rod end before doing so will help though. Onto this step, it's going to have me install the front bumper, and that's going to be the final step for bag B anyway, and bag C will have me at step 19, and that starts with assembling the shocks. But for now, let's get the front bumper on. Alrighty, so I'm moving on to bag C now. I have the hardware bag opened up so I can mount the shocks. And I have the parts laid out to build one shock here. I'm not going to build all 4 on camera just to speed up the video. It is getting a little longer than I expected. So let's get into it. Okay, so now I've assembled the 2 rear shocks here, the 2 gold shocks, and also the 2 front shocks, which are the silver springs. And now I'm just going to attach them quickly to the chassis. Okay, so I got the shocks all mounted up, and now I got the electronics out. The kit came with a Tamiya brushless ESC TBLE02S. So it's a 2S censored brushless ESC, but I'm just going to be using it with the brush motor. I ended up just taking the servo out of my Team Associated TC3 because I'm selling all the Team Associated stuff that I have in order to get another crawler, so I wouldn't be needing the electronics from it anymore. I'm not actually sure the brand of the servo, but I'll also be using the Fly Sky receiver I have from that. My next step is to get the servo ready to install into the chassis. I gotta put the servo horn on it and then put a couple brackets to get it to go onto the chassis. After that, I'll be getting the electronics mounted and getting the car set up to roll. Now that I have the servo horn set up to go onto the servo, I just got to make sure before I attach the servo horn that I have the servo centered by powering up the servo with the ESC, which I'll do after installing the brackets. Okay, so I've now found out that my servo won't fit unless I cut a slit in here for the servo wires. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my Dremel, get that set up and cut away. Alright, so after a little bit of slight modification with the Dremel there, I was able to make this servo fit. Now I'm going to go ahead and attach this electronics tray so I can mount the ESC and then get it all powered up, get the servo centered so I can get this servo horn mounted up at 15 degrees once the servo's centered. That's what the manual asks for this kit. And after I get the servo horn on, I can get the steering linkage installed and then move on to the last couple steps. Okay, so I got a battery set up now, hooked up to it. I got everything connected and it's all turned on, ready to go. So now this has asked me to mount the servo at 15 degrees off center. 100% steering. Everything works good. The throttle is backwards, so I just have to go into my settings, change my trim. Oh, sorry, I need to go into my servo reverse because it was reversed for the TC3. Change that back to normal. Now forward is forward, backward is backward. Alright, so I got most of my wires tidied up, some zip ties and the foil they give you to cover the servo wire. I'm going to stick this down with some more double-sided tape afterwards, the switch here. But other than that, the next step would have me be gluing the tires onto the rims, but unfortunately I don't have any tires for the wheels I have yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mount the hexes and just the rims to the chassis, and then I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up with the battery hold down plate and the body posts, and we're gonna toss the body on here and see how it looks. Alright, so I'm completely finished building the car. I'm finally finished going through all the steps in the manual, minus the wheels on the car, because I don't have any tires. But there's one last thing to do, and that's fit this body. So let's see how it looks. A little tight. Alright. That looks great. I really like the way the wheels turned out. tail lights are clear, so I can put lights in there. They're tinted Tamiya paint, as well as the marker lights in the front. The rear of the car doesn't sit down as much as I'd like it to. You can see the chassis and the motor, so I might end up going with magnets. I was just going to stick with the body post because the body itself came pre-drilled, but I'll make a brace for the back and attach some magnets on there to drop it down. There won't be a running video of the car until spring or summer because, quite frankly, it's negative 15 degrees outside right now and there's snow all over the place. So I'll have to wait for it to warm up and wait till the salt's off the roads here. But thanks for watching, guys. Please like the video, comment, let me know what you think of the car and how it turned out. And don't forget to subscribe and wait for that video in spring. Thanks for watching again.